NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst you legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight. Hey gang, so I got a new book out. It's called The Upside of Fear, and it's exactly what you think it's about. It's about the good side of, well, getting scared. In it, we talk not only about the science and biology behind fear, but the psychology as well. And it's not just coming from me, it's coming from some of the best in the sport. Omar Alhigelan, Jeff Provenzano, Maxine Tate, and so many more have contributed their sometimes terrifying stories to the book to help you overcome your fear. So head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com. You're going to find the link to the book there, as well as the other books. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook right now.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. All right, this is the fucking pilot back in the can for another edition of Lunatic Fringe. And again, with the magic of the internet, I have an amazing guest to sit down and talk to me about some lighthearted stuff and some pretty serious stuff as well. So tell me, who the fuck are you and what do you do?
I am Tracy Bohm. I'm currently the operations manager at iFly Phoenix, but I've been in the skydiving industry for quite some time, so I've been around the world a bit.
Yeah, you've been in the air to one degree or another for quite a long time. When did you start jumping?
My first tandem was in 2005.
Okay. Yeah, so you got some definite time under your belt. Well, and you've kind of hit everything from the low time student stuff to competition stuff to training to tunnel. I mean, every damn thing.
Yeah, I like to fly.
Yeah, no shit,
and
right?
I like to share that with other people. So the journey's been kind of all over the board and different things at different times, but it all comes together and it all relates, so it works.
Yes, very cool. Now, normally I would ask you how you got started in skydiving and how you led down this path and did you do anything else and this and that, but we had a horrible week last week in the sport. which I know you and everybody that's listening to this knows all about by now, and that was the crash in Hawaii. And what I kind of wanted to talk to you about, specifically because Hawaii is happening now, is the social media aspect when something like this goes wrong. And I wanted to talk to you because you had some very firm things to say from issues you've had in the past. So I kind of wanted to dive into the deep end, so to speak, and then see where it goes.
Sure. Social media, I mean, it's a curse and a blessing, I think, especially in our community. The blessing is that it allows people like you and I, who are on opposite ends of the world, to keep in touch pretty easily. The curse is when something goes wrong, I think. And I don't know what it is. It's not unique to skydivers. I think it just hits us a little bit harder because we are all over the world and we know people everywhere.
Sure.
And we don't always know where our friends are. So when you get some idiot that has to be the first person to post on Facebook, you know, and you don't have any details and you don't know who it is, all it does is create panic. You know, oh my God, do I have friends in Hawaii right now? I found out about Hawaii on Facebook.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, and it wasn't a news story. It wasn't, you know, it was just a person that used to be a skydiver that happens to live in Hawaii, posted something that, you know, makes you know that there's an incident, but you don't know what's happened yet.
Sure. Well, you know,
I think go ahead.
When I found out about it, it was through one of the Facebook pages, diverdriver.com, which is basically just a bunch of skydiving pilots and ex-skydiving pilots talking about exactly that. And they had posted the crash more as a kind of an NTSB style. Here are the basics, you know, and none of the names or none of the personal details, which I respect quite a lot, knowing what's going on as a pilot. But as a skydiver, of course, just like you, my first thought is, well, fuck, I don't know who's on the plane. I know people that have cycled through Hawaii for my entire career. I'm pretty sure I know people that are on the island now, and I have no idea what's going on. And it takes a lot when you're now faced with this to not start calling and dialing and messaging everybody you know to try and find out if your people are okay. I've kind of taken the way of as soon as I see something like that, I just take a deep breath and go, all right, the names will be released and you just need to keep your mouth shut and be patient.
Yeah, I wish more people took that philosophy about it. Really, there's this immediate need. I think particularly with the generation that's grown up with social media, you know, you and I we were fortunate enough to not, you know, grow up with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. I think this younger generation, like this immediate satisfaction, this immediate need to put something out there or get a response, only amplifies the issues that we're kind of touching on. But in general, like, people post before family's been notified. That happened to me. I lived that. My husband went in Eloy on May 23rd of 2015 at a very large event. It was at the Arizona Challenge. So there was literally hundreds of skydivers on the drop zone. Within 4.5 minutes of me being notified, and I was on the drop zone, so there was no phone call. There was no trying to get a hold of me. I was standing right there. Wow. 4.5 minutes later, it was on Facebook. His nephew, who was 13 at the time, was on Facebook to find out, just to look at, it was his birthday weekend. So he was just kind of catching up on birthday messages. And that's how he found out. Fuck. And I think that's so horribly wrong. The person that posted was on the drop zone, had hundreds of people, if they really needed to be consoled or grieve or, you know, go through whatever emotions it is that they were going through. Sure. They had that opportunity. I think it's very self-serving and selfish to have this need to be the first person to know something.
Yeah, what is that? I don't understand what, and it's unfortunate because then, and I'm sure you feel the same way now down the road. I almost don't want to post anything anytime something happens, even to say condolences, because I don't want to be viewed as one of these people that is just waiting for something to happen so that I can jump on the bandwagon and be one of those, you know? I I don't
Yeah,
get it.
it's definitely, changed a lot of my views and how I react to situations. I typically find that the first people to post something publicly, and I'm not talking about sending somebody a private message. Like
Sure.
I got a lot of those, and those were the people that I actually appreciated. Those were the people that were truly grieving Tom and trying to reach out to me
Sure.
personally, not trying to get some public attention.
Sure.
But it's difficult, and typically where I've ended with it is just don't be the first.
Yeah.
If all of us agree to not be the first, then it's going to be the family or the loved ones that post something. And if you want to respond with your condolences or reach out at that time, great. But if you're not friends with this person and I'm standing right there and your initial response is to go to Facebook, you didn't care about us. You weren't close with us.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Why on earth you would turn to your phone or your computer instead of the person next to you? That
Well, it's the same person. I mean, I was laying on the ground sobbing uncontrollably. He was 100 feet away from me.
Wow. How the fuck do you do that? That's just, see,
I don't know. I ended up, he saw me throw my phone in the garbage at some point because I was like, I'm done. I couldn't get a hold of his family. It was all over Facebook. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. And on the ringing of phones, like I'm not upset that people were trying to reach out to me. It just, I don't know, maybe give someone a minute.
Well,
I didn't
sure.
feel like I had 5 minutes to gather myself together before I had to start calling his family because it was already on Facebook.
Wow.
And I was trying to get a hold of them before they saw it.
Well, and then it's not
So
just,
that made me not have any time to just take a second to gather myself. I felt like I had to immediately start doing things.
sure. Well, and I remember vividly when all this was happening because I saw quite a bit of it on Facebook, and Tom was a friend, and when that happened, I don't think it was terribly long after that you posted very much about this subject. And your feelings on it and kind of how it twisted you up. And I remember just feeling fucking horrible and almost it was wanting to make sure that your friend is okay, but also not wanting to be one of those people. So it's kind of as soon as someone is at least being looked after, I think you should just take a step back and let it calm down. And you didn't have that at all. I mean, you were inundated from the moment it happened.
Yeah, I mean, it took a pretty rapid course. So it was that initial post, and then reaching out to his family. And when it really comes down to if you're trying to look out and see if a friend's okay, I don't think a public post is the way to do it.
No.
If you're close enough with someone to have that concern and want to reach out and make sure that they're okay, there's other ways. There's private messaging. There's, texting, phone calls, whatever. There's no reason if you're close with somebody to post it just publicly, randomly on Facebook.
Absolutely. Well, in specifically in regard to Tom, but in other situations that I've dealt with, now what's become the trend over the last probably half a dozen years now is just the black profile picture.
I hate that.
Yeah, so do I. Because you don't know. Is it skydiving related? Is it? And obviously, if you're seeing it, it's someone that you know, whether it's just on Facebook or personally. But I would never see that and post on their wall, oh my God, what happened? It would always be a personal message. And that's actually how I got the basic details in regard to Tom, was through personal messages from other people that were there, not from all that bullshit. And I just I guess I don't get it. And there's a big difference, I think, between sending that personal message to find out what happened to your friend and putting out a public message supporting later on family members and friends, that are grieving. That's a big difference.
Yeah, I think it's all a matter of timing, and there's no absolute right time. But I think there is an absolute wrong time. And the absolute wrong time is in the immediate aftermath.
Yeah.
You don't know who you're affecting as far as, so in the case with Tom, you might know me, but you don't know the rest of our family. You don't know what the rest of our family has gone through.
Sure.
So to compound his nephew finding out on Facebook, that was his birthday weekend. It was Memorial Day weekend. And this poor kid had also dealt with his mom trying to commit suicide that same weekend, many years prior.
Jesus.
So it was already a horrible weekend. And by some dipshit skydiver feeling the need to be the first person to post something, they traumatized this kid.
Yeah.
Forget about me. I'm an adult, and I was going through all kinds of stuff, and it pissed me off. And but you don't know who else you're affecting. You're putting this out there on the internet that anybody can see.
Sure.
And you don't even think about who you might affect. It's completely selfish and self-serving, in my opinion. What benefit do you get by posting, rest in peace, or I miss you, or what does that do for you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, if you want to do anything for yourself, and you feel the need to be selfish in that way, be selfish in a way that supports that person. It doesn't bring them down. I selfishly want to reach out to my friend to make them feel better. I selfishly want to do this or that or the other, but I'm not going to make it a public thing. It's not a fucking contest.
Unfortunately, I think it is. It shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be.
But in my mind, when I see this stuff, God, I try to stay out of these debates on social media. I really do. Like, I see it, I get pissed off. I just scroll right past. There's been a few, like you said, in that initial aftermath, I did get mad enough where I started saying stuff. Sydney Williams, actually, who I know you spoke with recently, was a significant part of helping me through that time. And, she, at one point, I'm like, Sydney, I need this to stop. And she posted, it turned into an AAD debate on Tom's Facebook page.
Jesus.
Like, can you take this valid debate? And I think it's really important. However, can you not have it on, like, I still scroll through his page as memories, you know? That's not the shit people want to see, his family, his friends.
Of course not. Well, especially when it's a bunch of shit that they most likely don't understand and don't really care. Why would you care about any of that stuff at that point? I mean, I get it that it's a valuable lesson for us skydivers, but that's the wrong fucking forum to have that discussion.
Absolutely. But either people don't think or they don't care.
Well,
And
I think it's both.
I would like to believe that they don't think.
I think it's both.
You're probably right.
And I'll tell you what, I'm not going to sit here and throw stones without taking a few myself, because there have definitely been times that I've just not thought before I've said or done something. I hope not anything that was, of lasting detriment to someone else. But, I've not been the sharpest tack in the box. So for those that just aren't thinking, maybe a conversation like this would help guide them in the right direction than the next time something like this happens. And of course, unfortunately, there's always a next time.
There is.
And maybe they'll be a little bit smarter about it. Now, outside of the social media part of it, I mean, you and I never really talked after Tom passed, because by the time we had conversations again on Facebook, it was a very lighthearted chat here and there, because you were well on the road to getting back on your feet. But fuck me, whatever happened? I never did really find out the details.
Yeah. So essentially he went in with nothing out.
Right.
He had been in a car accident about a week prior. It was a pretty bad car accident. He totaled a rental car. That was another fun lawsuit I got to deal with afterwards.
Oh, Jesus God.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy time for sure. He had been in a car accident and, never went to the doctor. Tom was never one to complain about physical pain, or he was a caregiver for everybody else.
Sure.
So he got in this car accident actually on his way to the airport to go to Seattle for work. And he didn't go to the doctor. He went to Seattle. And that entire week we were on the phone. He was in some pretty serious pain. He had some neck pain and he had some tingling in his arm.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there was definitely some sort of an injury. Unfortunately, because he never went to the doctor, we'll never know exactly or the extent of the prior injury, but there was something. That it was his reserve side arm that had the tingling. So that may have played into the incident, that he wasn't able Some things we'll never know.
Sure.
The irony or some of the other things, like that morning he woke up, I was like, I don't really feel like jumping. And, as skydivers, like, I'm never going to tell him not to.
Sure.
And I'm never going to tell him he has to. And he did the same. I mean, I'm pretty sure you were at CSC when I was making 30 jumps the weekend I broke my foot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We trust that each individual is going to make the right choice for them. So I trusted that. And it was, I want to say, his 5th or 6th jump of the day. And, we'll never know. Sounds like he, waved off, attempted to pull. Maybe it was a hard pull. Maybe something with his arm being a little bit numb made it hard to pull the reserve. Sure. We'll never truly know all of the details.
Wow. Well, and that's got to be the hardest part, no?
It is. I mean, I wish it was a low turn, to be honest. Like, at least I could say, this is what happened.
Yeah,
it definitely makes it easier, I think, when there's an actual reason, fact that you can point to and say, okay, this is what happened. I understand that.
Sure.
This one, there's not a lot to understand. And it took me a long time to not, to just accept that.
Sure. Well, and it was, unfortunately, it's, as is the case with a lot of longtime skydivers, when you have friends pass, most of the time you're not there. Most of the time it's happened somewhere else. It's a friend that you made at this drop zone or that drop zone, and you've kept connected, and you find out through the grapevine that something went wrong.
Or Facebook.
Or Facebook, yeah. You find out however horrible way you find out. And I don't know about you, but for me, there's no closure in that. There's nothing. There's nothing to say. There's no goodbye, because take my good friend Zach. He passed away a couple of years ago, but to me, I still keep waiting for the phone to ring because I wasn't there. I wasn't at the funeral. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't have that closure, and it's a very, very strange thing because they're just kind of never really gone. And I would imagine having unanswered questions has got to be pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean, I was there, and obviously, I was at all of the services and memorials, and I'm not gonna lie, there was a long time. I mean, well over a year that you either pick up the phone to call that person, or you're waiting for them to call, and I think for me at least, there was a long period of shock.
Sure.
And unfortunately, it's during that initial time that everybody's there to help you. And I don't mean unfortunate that they're there to help you. I mean unfortunate in the timing, because during that shock phase, which is probably the first year for me, isn't when you need people the most.
Sure.
It's when you start coming out of that and actually grieving and actually accepting and actually living without that person. That's when you need people the most. And outside of your immediate circle, that's where everybody else is over it and moved on.
Yeah, they've filed it in that category and have pleasant thoughts, but that's about it. But you're still dealing with it on a daily basis. And it's funny.
Absolutely.
It's funny that you say all that, because I remember thinking over the course of that first year, in seeing the occasional posts, and I believe we spoke a couple of times chatting back and forth on Facebook, that you seemed so strong about the entire thing. And I was so ridiculously impressed, and still am very impressed. But the fact that you're saying it was still just such a shock even a year later makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a strong person, at least I'd like to believe that. But you don't have a choice.
Right.
I didn't have a choice but not to be. My choices were get off your ass and be strong and live, or stick your head in the sand.
Sure.
Like, that, who does that honor? That doesn't honor who I am. That didn't honor who he was. Not to mention you got to get up and go to work. And,
sure.
I took a month. I went back to Chicago for a month, which, still astonishes me that it was actually a month, because it didn't feel like that, of course.
Sure.
But you have to get up. You have to. You just don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You got to get up. You got bills to pay. You've got commitments. And, honestly, the busier I was, the easier it was for me.
Well, now,
Um,
I have to ask, because a lot of people, if there's any non-jumpers listening or low-time jumpers listening that don't really have a lot of experience in the sport, a lot of people are thinking, how could you ever go back to this industry? How could you ever go back to skydiving? And you had to have had that talk with yourself.
of course. So I took a month off. I really didn't know. I had just accepted a job with Skydive Elsinore actually the weekend before Tom and I went to Eloy. And I was supposed to start the Monday after.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, that didn't happen quite that way.
Right.
My dad ended up flying out to Eloy, and we drove the rental car back to California. I went back to Chicago where all of mine and his family is. And I stayed there for a month, not really kind of knowing what I was going to do, but there was a lot of things to wrap up, a lot of legal stuff, memorials, his family, we had a house there, just all kinds of, like life stuff.
Sure.
Which actually dealing with a lot of that makes that initial time frame a bit easier because you're busy and your mind is occupied, with other things.
Sure.
So you're not really dealing with your emotions yet. So I did that, and the position that I accepted at Elsinore didn't necessarily require me to jump. But obviously it's a preferred situation.
Right.
So the way that I figured out the date that I was going to go back to California, there was an event called the Poker Run, at Elsinore, which is a super fun event. You do 5 jumps and you get a playing card at the end of every jump, and then you play poker, and there's tequila penalties, and great event. If anybody's never checked it out, it's a lot of fun. So the drop zone was actually going to cancel it because I wasn't there. So that was how I figured out what date I was going to come back.
Was to go do the poker run.
What I told myself was, that having taken a month off jumping was the longest I hadn't jumped, since I started, basically. So it already felt like a million years since I had jumped. I felt super incurrent. Obviously super emotional. Not really all the best scenario to go make a skydive.
Sure.
But, I put this team together, and it was really supportive at the drop zone. And I had told myself, you're not going to know until you do it again, whether you want to continue doing this or not.
Fair enough.
So I climbed out on that very first jump. And God, man, I felt like a student. I was shaking. I was so nervous.
I bet.
So many things running through your head, obviously. But I had newer jumpers on this team with me. I was trying to hold my head up and set a good example. If you're scared, they're going to be scared. Bad things can happen.
Sure.
Honestly, when I was standing outside the plane right before I gave the count, I basically in my head said, fuck it. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Right.
And if that happens, who cares?
Right.
I mean, that's where I was at mentally, which isn't, I wouldn't promote that attitude to go skydive with.
No, but it was understandable
at
in your
all.
case for sure.
If somebody told me that on the ground, I would say, please don't go jump right now.
Yeah.
But I did. And, honestly, skydiving was a really big part of Tom and I's life. It was something that he brought me into. He was my first tandem instructor. That's how we met. I know, cliche.
Awesome.
But I felt really close to him. In the sky, I still do.
That's kind of amazing. I guess I never really thought about it that way. And having lost more than my fair share of friends, as a lot of us have, I guess when it comes to jumping, I always kind of separate that from this, if that makes any sense. But that's a really cool way to look at it.
Yeah, and then you tell yourself all the other things, like, well, I have an AAD, I have this, I have that, and I'm not going to turn low, and anytime there's an incident, obviously you want to learn from it, but unfortunately a lot of the incidents aren't new things that we need to learn. I mean, how many people go in from turning low?
Oh yeah.
And how long I've learned from day one, don't turn low, like not to do it.
Oh yeah.
So you convince yourself of all kinds of things after every incident, like, oh, well, I wouldn't do that. That's not going to happen to me. And, what's worse is when it happens to somebody else. It's not, typically you're not going to grieve over yourself.
Yeah,
Like
no.
you're,
No.
it's the pain is going to come from somebody else doing it. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
there was a lot of up and downs for sure. I didn't know, I ended up going, diving further into the sport. Part of that was, a need financially to survive, and, pay your bills and, all of that.
Sure.
So there, that was definitely part of it, but honestly, just, continuing on his legacy of sharing that sport and sharing, spending so much time with the newer jumpers. That was something that Tom always did. And I still hear about to this day when I meet people that maybe I've never met, but
Sure.
he helped them when they were new. Those are amazing stories. And that's kind of what keeps me going is it's a little bit of his legacy. He shared it with me and so many other people, and I'm just continuing to do that.
Well, that was one of his biggest attributes, and one of the standout qualities about Tom was his desire to give back to the community. And in pretty much every podcast I've done, we've talked about the fact that the community of skydivers is just as, if not even more important than the sport itself. It's just an amazing group of very twisted, interesting people that, for the most part, have huge hearts. They're a little mental. We're all a little mental. But huge.
A little
hearts.
on the lunatic fringe.
On the lunatic fringe, absolutely, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, God knows it keeps the bonfire antics interesting, to say the least.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I can understand how you would almost end up deeper in the sport, because you have to get to that point where you make that decision. I guess we all do. If you're in the sport any length of time and you lose someone, whether it's someone as close as you did or just a good friend or even an acquaintance, you have to sit down and go, okay, do I keep doing this? Is this what I do? So I suppose once you've crossed that bridge, I think you're kind of once you're there, you're a skydiver for good.
Yeah, I mean, I was really fortunate as well that my family, who never fully understood me skydiving at all, was also really supportive of that. They never, they asked me to think about it. We had the same conversation that you and I just had. But ultimately, they just supported me. And I'm so thankful for that, because if they didn't, I don't know how that would have affected me continuing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'd imagine it would have made you definitely think twice, for sure. Well, so
yeah, you've got to.
I was just going to say, so you started dating and ended up marrying your first tandem instructor.
Yes.
That's yeah.
I'm that person.
Wow. Well, hey, I mean, come on. Having been a tandem instructor for a long time, I definitely dated a few of my students. I just didn't marry any of them. But you and Tom, I mean, he basically taught you how to skydive in the beginning. Was he your instructor throughout?
No.
Good man.
So Tom never had his AFF rating. It was something with his skill level that would have been very easy for him to do, and his teaching demeanor and sharing and all of that. He used to say a lot that he likes to keep his students attached to him. They can't get away from me.
Right? Oh, yeah.
So he never got his AFF rating. He was on the plane for my first AFF jump with Nathan Dexter.
Awesome.
Yeah, love Nathan. But he was on the plane, and he was there to support, and he was there when I had questions. Obviously he'd review malfunctions with me if that's what I wanted to do, but he really just stayed out of it. He didn't interfere when the instructors were talking to me about any of the levels I was doing. He took me to the tunnel before I did my first AFF, because that's what I wanted to do. As most of us are type A, like I didn't want to fail.
Sure.
So I wanted to go do everything in the tunnel. I basically did the entire AFF program in the tunnel. Awesome. And that gave me the peace of mind to know I can do all of this. Now I need to focus on altitude awareness on my canopy.
Which is extremely important.
Yeah, huge. But I didn't have to really worry about the free fall part,
right,
because I kind of felt like I had that.
Sure.
At least enough to be safe.
Sure. Well, so you end up getting through AFF, but actually, I'll back up for just a second. So he took you on your first tandem, but it sounds like you guys like were together from right then.
Pretty much. So the long and short of it is that was in, I want to say like July
All right.
of 2005. There was an event. There was still Jump for the Cause was still going on at that time.
Okay.
I was working at a food distribution company, and I was trying to find a way to get back to the drop zone. Like Tom and I talked after the jump, and there was this obvious connection. And it was a busy Saturday at Skydive Chicago, so like he was back in rotation, and I was kind of like, how do I get back here and kind of like have more time with him, right? I fully stalked him.
Nice.
So I found out about this barbecue that was going on at Skydive Chicago for Jump for the Cause. And I basically called the drop zone and said, hey, I want to donate all the food for this barbecue.
Wow.
So I did. And I went to the barbecue, and that was pretty much it. That was it.
That's cool.
We moved to Mexico a couple months later. I quit my job, sold my house, and moved to Mexico, essentially.
No way to take it slow.
It was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, fucking hell. That's awesome. That's, yeah. You know, I wrote an article a long, long time ago about how most relationships in skydiving fail, because most of them do. But you guys were clearly the exception to that rule.
Yeah, drop zones are hard. Relationships on drop zones are hard.
Yeah, what's the saying?
think-
It's not your person, it's just your turn.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, that's exactly it.
It is a bit of an incestuous sport because it's so tight knit and so small that you end up dating a lot of the same people if you're in the same community.
You do. I mean, that's who you interact with. That's who you hang out with. That's who you see most of the time. With that, like when I thought about maybe starting to date again, a lot of people ask me, would you ever date a skydiver again? And I was like, I honestly don't think I can't date a skydiver because I think particularly as a woman, as a full-time skydiver, like, nobody's going to understand that.
No.
Nobody's going to understand that it's not a 9 to 5, that you're going to get on that sunset load, that you have to take your student to the tunnel on your day off. Whatever it is, like if I met Joe Schmo who worked in an office 9 to 5, how does that work?
Well, it doesn't for a number of reasons. A, they're just like you said, they're not going to understand the draw and the attention that you'll give the sport and the community. A, but B, Joe Schmo that's never jumped out of an airplane is never going to be able to handle dating a girl that's 10 times more badass than he is. Just,
I mean, it creates a lot of issues.
Fucking
right?
hell, it does. I mean, when your girl's got bigger balls than you do, metaphorically speaking.
Well, you do know that my balls are so big, Dean, that they had to put them on my chest to avoid chasing.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, now that you mention it, you are a bit curvy. Ay. So yeah, I can see how between the food and other attributes you won Tom over relatively quickly.
Well, the best part about that is he wasn't at the barbecue initially. He was up at, I don't know if it was Sky Nights or Skydive Midwest, one of the other drop zones further north, at a 4-way meet. So he ended up at the barbecue because he heard that I was there looking for him, but not initially there.
All right. That's one of the times the grapevine served you well then.
Yes, that worked. That one worked out well.
So now,
that would be an okay one to post on Facebook.
Yeah, right. Now, didn't you guys end up on a team together at some point?
We did. So I actually worked really hard to get to that point. Tom was an avid 4-way competitor. He loved it. And when we first started dating, I would go with him to meets at other drop zones, and he'd be like, hey, can you quiz me on the draw on the way there? And I had no idea what any of these letters or names or formations meant.
Sure.
But he was really into it. He loved it. And I will never forget watching the first videos of the first meet that I went with him and not understanding anything about it. Shortly thereafter, he showed me some videos of airspeed. And I was like, oh, I get it. Like the shapes made sense because they because they looked like the shape that they were supposed to stamped on paper.
Ouch.
Yeah. Well, we all go through that phase,
Sure.
right? It doesn't matter if the shape looks pretty if you get the point, but it helps somebody from the outside a little bit understand.
Sure.
So he wanted to continue and I wanted to get into it. And, Tom traveled a lot for work. So it was really important. We always prioritized making time for each other over anything else.
Sure.
So if I wanted to do 4-way and he wanted to do 4-way, the most time efficient and fun way for us to do it would be to do it together. But he had so many years ahead of me in the sport that I was way behind the curve.
Sure.
So I just put everything I had into it. I went to the tunnel. I worked with, I didn't do a lot of silly, fun jumps. All of the jumps that I did for my first probably 500 jumps were all, something to get better, something to work on. I was pretty lucky with some of the LOs at CSC at the time who understood that and worked with me on that and helped me progress. And then working with some really great coaches in the sport, helped me progress pretty quickly too, to the point where we were more so on an even keel to be on a team together.
Sure. Well, and this is about the time that your and my paths crossed, isn't it? This was the CSC time.
Yeah, that was all during that time.
Yeah. Because you were always walking around the drop zone, and of course, I would only see jumpers on the ground when we would shut down. Otherwise, it was just helmets and jumpsuits in the back. But you were always walking around the drop zone with a black jumpsuit tied around your waist and curves. And you were always marching around the drop zone, and apparently always had somewhere to go and very motivated.
Motivated is a good word. Yeah. For sure. I have a hard time just sitting still.
Yeah.
So whether it's, so-and-so just landed, let me go talk to them, or how'd that jump go, or what load are we on, or what are we doing next? Or, I still don't sit still very well. I work in a 3-story building now, and I can't tell you how many steps I put in every day just because I can't sit still.
Oh, I bet.
That was definitely the times our paths crossed. I went through AFF at CSC, probably right before that. So I did my first couple AFF jumps, I want to say, were out of the pack. And I want to say it was the first year they had the pack.
Okay.
So, Tom was typically doing tandems, which was awesome because he would make money and then I would be jumping it off at the same time. So we pretty much came out zero there all the time between the jumps and the raffle tickets.
Right.
That was definitely the time.
Yeah.
You were there.
Yeah, no, because I came out. I don't even remember what year I started flying for CSC, but I did 4 years there, and you guys were super active the entire time that I was there, both in jumping and in the social aspect of it, which is funny. I know you've got a couple of great stories from CSC, some good, some bad. You got one fucked up one about me. Well, probably more than one. So, but you had told me before we started recording about a story you tell your students.
Yeah. So, God, I think I probably had right around 100 jumps. I mean, I was still a baby skydiver at the time.
Right.
And being a formation skydiver, you're typically first out of the plane. So it was myself and I want to say Brian Darnell. I think we were just doing a 2-way. We were in the door, we're on jump run. And the famous when everybody starts yelling at you to go.
Yep.
So I'm the one looking down. I'm the one making the decision. But ultimately, there was no green light. So just to back up for a minute, it had to be like the day before or 2 days before, there was a jumper who got grounded at CSC for jumping because there was no green light.
Right.
So this is pretty fresh in my mind in the door. And not only are all the jumpers yelling at us to go, now the fucking pilot
literally
also starts yelling at us to go. And we're still not going. And the entire plane is yelling at us. I'm like, dude, there's no green light.
Yep. And that's,
you finally figured it out.
Yeah. That's
sure
about the time it clicked that I was that asshole that had forgotten to turn on the green light. So you guys were 100% right not to jump, and I completely fucked that spot. And then came down and did something I hate doing more than anything, which is apologize. Especially when it comes to flying a plane, because
Well, our spot was okay.
yeah, everybody else was fucked.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, pretty
I
sure.
think I was still pretty new to the Otter at that time because I had done most of my flying in the pack out in Davis in California, and didn't start flying the Twin Otter until CSC, and had some very interesting, challenging times at CSC between weather and some maintenance issues and a new plane and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I may have been a little bit more high-strung back then.
It was all in good fun. I mean, when you realized it pretty quickly, it wasn't. But as a newer jumper, I was like, "Oh my God, am I doing the wrong thing?" Like, even the pilot's yelling at me now.
Oh yeah.
So I do tell my students that when I'm doing AFF, particularly as they start doing their solos or they're no longer jumping with an instructor, that it is important to make sure that that green light is on. And even if you're not the first person out, that the green light is still on.
Sure.
Because something can happen where, the light goes red for whatever reason. Maybe it's a go around, maybe there's traffic. You don't always know.
Sure. Well,
I like to think that the pilot is better, but
sure,
maybe not always.
well, and as technology has taken over more and more in both aviation and in skydiving, the art of spotting has slowly faded. You check your spot when you're first to get out, and maybe you glance as you continue to go. But if you're on one of these big drop zones, the green light comes on and everybody just starts streaming out. And it's all, GPS and everybody trusts the pilot. Well, they stop looking at the light sometimes, which is horrible because as a pilot, if I don't have a PA system in the airplane, the only way I have to tell someone to stop jumping because there's something wrong is to turn that red light on. So it is really important to continue looking to make sure you're still green to go because there might be a fucking plane under you. You never know.
Yeah, you have no idea. And a lot of these bigger drop zones have, like Skydive Chicago is right on the Bradford 6, so on the way to O'Hare. And you definitely, I've seen Southwest planes while I'm free falling.
Oh, yeah.
It can happen, and you may not see it, especially as a newer jumper, your field of awareness isn't there yet.
No.
And it takes time to build that. So building in good habits of spotting, it's a lost art. People don't, very seldom do they look. And if they do look, I don't think they know what they're looking for.
Right.
I think it's an action that they just look down, but what does that mean?
Right.
What are the upper winds doing? We don't educate ourselves. All of this technology is great, but we don't educate ourselves anymore. What are the uppers doing, and what does that mean for group separation?
Right.
What does that mean for your spot?
Sure.
What does that mean for the first person getting out? What does that mean for the last person getting out? It's definitely not.
That was where
as well ingrained as it should be.
When I started flying the Twin Otter for CSC, that's actually where I picked up one of the best habits ever. And I know you'll remember this from jump runs in that Otter, was hearing the call-outs from the cockpit. Because I was trained in that plane, all right, you're going to call out the 2-minute over the PA system, and then when the green light goes on, you're going to call out distances to over the top and distances from over the top, as well as giving people the ground speed. So you're giving people as much information as they can possibly get before they've even poked their head out the door. They're going to know where they're at and where they're looking, and that's a good thing and a bad thing because it also helps make jumpers lazy because, I'm going to tell you, you're 0.2 prior, get out. So
yeah, I definitely appreciated that. It definitely helped me learn and understand. But at the same time, when you go to another drop zone and you're not hearing that, you need to be able to function the same way.
Absolutely.
And make the same decisions. So what I learned from that is, when I was at Elsinore for so many years working, I would communicate with the pilot, like, hey, where's jump run? Where are you turning on the green? 0.4 prior? Great. It helps me understand what's going on.
Absolutely.
But yeah, for sure. If you're not getting that information, and you're used to hearing that, it can be a challenge.
For sure.
But most places aren't doing that. So you have just as much of a challenge as how do you figure that information out?
Well, and it's the
you
fact.
can read a chart before you get on the plane, I guess.
Sure.
But
Well,
who
the
does
fact
that?
that you're asking the pilots, but that's by far the best way to go. As long as they've got the time to deal with it. I don't know any pilot that's not going to happily say, "Hey, we're flying 040. You're going to get out point 0.5 prior, and you're doing 90 knots." Which is
Yeah.
that's the information you need to know. Well, are you going to be east or west of the field, or all those little things that make a difference when you're halfway through free falling, glancing around just to get a feel of where you're at. Now, for me as a most of the time tandem instructor, the spots were always the easiest damn thing because all I've got time to do is just look around.
Yeah. If you need to pull a little bit higher, you do.
Yeah, there's nothing going on. I'm giving the signal to the camera guy that we're long and we're going to open high. It makes it easy. Piece of cake. Well, so now you did all of this stuff and ended up transitioning into the tunnel. How'd that happen?
Yes. So I went from managing Elsinore to working in the school there. So I was jumping every day, which I loved. I loved working with the students. I love doing video. Like tandem instructors are great, but you don't get to see their face on that first jump. Like the videographer really gets to interact and experience that with them. And of course, AFF the same, although a bit scarier because you're a little bit more responsible in that role than as a videographer.
No doubt.
So I did that, and I started getting the feeling like it was time for me to move on. We talked a little bit about me quitting my job and selling my house and moving to Mexico. And although that was really scary, it was one of the best decisions I made in my life. So I made a decision to pick up and move to Arizona. I had been in a relationship for quite some time, and I was tired of making the drive back and forth. So I actually moved to Arizona with zero plan other than where and who I was going to live with. I was doing the boogie circuit with Mirage at the time and as an LO also. So I had some work lined up. I had enough saved up that I was going to be okay. And I ended up at the tunnel. The position, came open. I had some friends that worked there, and I thought it was a really good balance for me to go a little bit back to the quote unquote real world as far as a guaranteed paycheck, insurance, things like that, but also still stay in the industry.
Sure.
So it's still what I love to do. My body appreciates not having to jump every day.
Right.
The worst thing is when you're sick and you have to go skydive.
Oh, yeah.
Like I love skydiving, but it's still a job.
Sure. Oh no, absolutely. The greatest thing that ever happened to me was not jumping for over 4 years and then coming back to the sport as a first-time fun jumper. Because I started working in the sport as quickly as you started training for four-way. I was working as I started shooting video, and then I was chucking drogues, and then I was doing AFF, and I did that for 9,000 jumps, 10,000 jumps before I became a fun jumper. Like I had well over 10,000 jumps before I just went out and got goofy in the sky. So
it's weird. You're like, what do I do?
It's fucking great. It's absolutely great. And if you ask me, all my best memories in skydiving are still doing tandems. I loved doing tandems. I loved the interaction with first-time jumpers. But being an old new fun jumper is fucking wonderful.
Yeah, it kind of it gives you a different perspective, and I think it brings a whole nother aspect to the sport and the community within yourself.
Oh yeah. Well, and you remember why you got into it in the first place.
I'm still trying to figure out how to be a fun jumper since I've moved here. Typically I go to the drop zone. I'm still four-way training.
Right. Well, and I'd imagine working in the tunnel too, you're again a face that everybody recognizes as someone that's teaching and doing all this stuff. So it's kind of tough to get away from it.
It is a little bit. I have certain people at the drop zone that, try to book time. And I'm like, yeah, so I'm not at work right now. I'm on a 20-minute call. But if you want to call the tunnel and make that reservation, you can. I've had people give me their credit cards at the drop zone. I'm like, I'm not sure what you want me to do with this, but, you can call and here's what you can do.
Right.
So there's a little bit of crossover there. Not too bad. Most people will kind of let me be. but there's a little bit.
Sure.
I haven't been fun jumping as much lately. I probably should, kind of get back to that a bit more. Life just gets in the way now. It's not my job. I'm not at the drop zone every day, so I don't always have a reason to go there.
Sure.
And being in Arizona in the summer, like if you're not at the drop zone at the crack of dawn, you're not jumping.
Sure.
They start early, they end early, dust devil. I landed in a dust devil last weekend. That was fun.
Oh, fuck that noise. No.
Yeah. It wasn't bad. I was probably about 10 feet off the ground. I didn't get slammed into the ground or anything. It just, it was scary.
Sure.
The worst part was after I landed and I was still in it trying to disconnect my trap system to be able to cut away my main. It proved to be more difficult than it should have been. Ooh. So it was all under control. It was good. There's no injuries, no anything, but definitely a scary moment. And one of that reminds you, no matter how many jumps you have, no matter how many years in the sport you have, like something new can still happen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I am acutely aware, probably even more so now, that although we do a damn good job of making our sport safe and a sport that you can do literally your whole life. I mean, guys like Lou Sanborn are a golden example of that. It's something you can literally do forever, but it's not necessarily always going to go your way, even if you do everything right. So the older I get, the more aware that I am. And also, shit just hurts more. So that little twist or sprain or strain just takes that much longer to get over. And the aches and pains aren't all necessarily that much fun. So the going out and the days of doing 10 or 15 jumps a day are way behind me.
I agree with all of that, except the days of the 10 to 15 jumps.
You go.
I'm still training four-way. So typically it's about 10 to 12 that we'll do in a day, which is still a lot less physically painful than doing, 10 to 15 AFF jumps.
Sure.
Those just tear your body apart, even with good students. So there's a difference for sure. But yeah, it definitely takes longer to recover. I mean, after a 4-day four-way camp, I used to just go straight to work, and now I'm like, oh my God, I need a day off. Just to recover from the fun that I just had.
Right. This getting older shit's it's no joke.
True story, but I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, again, we talked about that before we started the recording because I just had my 50th birthday and I refused to bitch about getting any older because we know way too many people that don't have that luck. So I'm going to soak up every gray hair and I got nothing to bitch about. Nothing whatsoever. So you're at the tunnel. You're still very heavy in the sport, still training four-way and all that stuff. What's the future hold? What's down the road for you?
That's a really good question. Something that I've learned, I don't put too much faith in plans. There was a point that I thought I knew what my life was going to hold and what my future was going to look like. And then I had that day that everything changed.
Sure.
So I don't see myself getting out of the sport. I've changed my roles as time goes on, and that may continue. I'll probably get back into LOing a little bit more. I've taken some time off of that. I did the full boogie circuit for a couple years, and I loved it. But I'm kind of enjoying right now jumping when I want to, because I want to,
sure.
And not because I have to. So probably a little bit more of that will come back with time. I'm just enjoying life right now. Spending a lot of time with my boyfriend and his kids,
nice.
Which is something I never thought I wanted kids. So that's a whole new ball of wax. I still feel kind of fortunate that they were a little bit older by the time I came into the picture.
Right.
So there wasn't any diaper screaming or bottles or diapers or any of that
sure.
stuff. But yeah, I mean, just kind of enjoying life in a different perspective. Sure. And, we still jump and still in the tunnel a lot, but
now is your man a jumper?
Different life. He is.
Very cool.
You might have heard of him. His name's Mark. He's got probably about 28,000 skydives. I don't know, 6-ish world medals.
I've probably heard of him then.
something like that. So, yeah, he was actually my very first coach when I started wanting to get into four-way. So we've known each other for a long time. Tom actually introduced us. So there wasn't any, there's no weirdness if I talk about Tom or, anything like that. Mark was actually running the event at the time. So he lived it with me.
Right. What's,
and,
how old are the kids?
8 and 10 now.
Okay, so drop zone kids, I'm guessing. I mean, packing weights.
No. We have tried to get them excited about learning to pack, and maybe making some money, and they will not fly in the tunnel.
What?
No, they hate it. So I don't know how old they were when Mark put them in the tunnel the first time. It was in Eloy. It was before all the I-5s were, everywhere.
Right.
And so it's a little bit louder. It's hot. It can be uncomfortable. You get sand blowing at you. Just depends on what time of year and what time of day, right? So they weren't really into it. Last year, I want to say it was last year, the boys are both super into military and wars and stuff like that. So there happened to be some military working at the tunnel, and they gave them like their military helmets and a little bit of camo, and thought they'd be super excited to get in, put the air on really low. They were walking around just to get comfortable. And then the instructor, we'll leave him out of it because everybody knows who he is. Another big name in the sport. Thought it might be cool to do a backflip with them.
Oh.
Scared the living daylights out of the kids. And the next time they went in the tunnel, they grabbed the net and wouldn't let go. So that was done. And then iFi did a promotion. They had a partnership with DreamWorks. So we had a How to Train Your Dragon virtual reality.
Wow.
And I thought for sure if these kids were going to get in the tunnel, like this was what they were going to do. And they did not want to fly it. They wanted to watch it sitting down. And
wow.
I told them they couldn't. They had to fly. So they're just not into it, which isn't a bad thing.
No, fair enough.
It definitely lets us keep that part of our lives a little bit separate from our family life.
Sure.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So if they want to down the road, like we're here and we'd be supportive and we'd help them. But right now they don't want anything to do with it.
Well, then fair enough. I mean, I'm not heartbroken that my daughter's not chomping at the bit to go be a skydiver. That doesn't bother me. But
well, as a father with a daughter on a drop zone, that has a
right.
That brings a whole lot of other stuff with it.
Yeah.
It's not just about the thing, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I chatted with Mike Wittenberg about that, and he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, the whole daughter on the drop zone thing. No, I don't want her getting later ending up with a coke habit.
I mean, there's pilots out there like you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing too. Is the old joke, and I've said it many times on the podcast. Is my daughter can go make a skydive as long as she doesn't go to a fucking drop zone to do it. What I never followed up that statement with is because she might meet someone like me.
Yeah. I mean, and your daughter's beautiful, so she would definitely meet someone.
Yeah, and which is why I am thrilled that she's cool not being on the drop zone. She's doing her own thing, and that's fantastic. But just like you, if she decides she wants to go out and learn how to skydive, I would support it. But she's also old enough now to tell people to fuck off. So.
Yeah.
And she's.
I'm sure you've taught her a nice right hook for this situation.
Well, and she's been around the sport her whole life because of me, so she knows enough about skydiving now to be like, dude, back up.
Yeah.
Like, go. No.
Yeah.
Well, very, very, very cool. I mean, it's fantastic to see that you've got so many different really cool things going, and you've had a hell of a path through the sport. I mean, a lot of it definitely painted by a horrible experience that you handled incredibly. I mean, I don't know that there's that many people that can say that they're as strong as you've had to be.
I hope not, and I don't want there to be a lot of us, but there'll be more.
Of course.
I had some really good people help me get through the situation. Blue McGowan in particular was somebody that I hadn't known before. I had known her husband, Pat, and, before he passed. And that was somebody that, I reached out to as another widow in the sport. We've all lost friends or acquaintances. But to have somebody that actually went through that same scenario was super helpful. And I was just talking with her a week or so ago, that, when the day comes, I would definitely pass that support on to the next person as well. I don't want to see it happen, but we all know it will.
Of course. Well, and hopefully, actually, unfortunately, there's probably somebody listening that may have to end up taking that advice, whether it be, a husband or a wife, or even just a really close friend. And it's important for people to know that there are people that have gone through this situation that they can reach out to. That's really important.
Yeah,
really is.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a community, that we're all there. I'm probably more hesitant to reach out to people that maybe I don't know very well because of the whole social media phenomenon and kind of, everybody's ready at a different point. But, that's not to say if somebody were to reach out to me that I wouldn't wholeheartedly 100% be there.
Yeah, which is fantastic. It really is. Well, as we wind things down, have you got any advice? I always try and ask advice to newer jumpers or anybody that doesn't jump that's thinking about getting into it, or just advice in general. Anything you want to pass on before we go?
As far as jumping, just don't ever be complacent. That's the biggest thing. You're never too far in the sport or too experienced to continue learning or have something happen. So, I check my handles every time before I get out of the plane. Doesn't matter how many thousands of jumps I have. And I don't see a lot of newer jumpers really kind of doing that. So that's for the newer jumpers. For the experienced jumpers, continue to set the example. If I see a student on the plane not touching their handles on jump run, I will stand right up and make a big production about touching mine.
Nice.
I won't call them out for it. I won't yell at them for it, but I'll get right in their face and kind of say like, hey, this is what you should be doing.
Sure.
Advice for life in general, just get busy living. Chase those dreams. Yep. Make the big, scary decisions. They may work out, they may not, but at least you tried.
Oh yeah. No. I can definitely second that advice. I think doing something scary as often as possible, within reason, of course, is fantastic advice. Staying in your comfort zone is kind of a shitty place to be, if you ask me.
It is.
Yeah. Well, Tracy, it has been amazing catching up. I can't tell you how good it is to talk to you. It's been quite some time.
It has.
I've been able to use this podcast as a platform basically just to call up old friends and shoot the shit. It's fucking fantastic. It's great.
I like it.
Yeah, I get to catch up with everybody, and I'm sure you feel the same way, especially in this sport. It could be someone you saw 2 days ago or 5 years ago. You'll fall right back into the rhythm and have those same conversations because of all the shared experiences. And it's
absolutely.
That's what makes it so fucking amazing.
I'll second that.
All right. Well, Tracy, I love you. I'm so happy I got to talk to you, and thank you so much for joining me.
Love you too. Take care, Dean.
Take care. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.